viewers. Today, in this video, I shall try to give you a little insight about a film. And the film name is, as you have already seen on the thumbnail, Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet, it is a play written by William Shakespeare. It is a romance tragedy. So, Hollywood and many other film industry has tried to adapt many Shakespeare's works into their own country's films. Okay, and here we will specifically talk about Romeo and Juliet and how many times Romeo and Juliet has been adapted into movies, and we will try to know the summary or the plot of the film. I have already told you that this is a work of Shakespeare. So the first, not first, this is the second. The second adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, it was taken place in the year 1968 as a period romantic tragedy film based by directed and co-written by Franco Zeffirelli, if I'm not wrong. And the film stars include Leonard Whiting as Romeo and Olivia Hussey as Juliet. And Laurence Olivier, he spoke the film's prologue and epilogue and dubbed the voice of the actor Antonio Pier Federici, who played Lord Montagu, but was not credited on screen. Then the cast also stars Milo Oshia, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Michael York, John McHenry, Bruce Robinson, and Robert Stephen. Okay, now another film adapted from the Romeo and Juliet of William Shakespeare was in 1996. It was often shortened as Romeo plus Juliet, but the original title was William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. It is a 1996 romantic crime tragedy film directed, co-produced, and co-written by Baz Luhrmann. It is modernized adaptation of William Shakespeare's tragedy Romeo and Juliet. The film stars include Leonardo DiCaprio and Clary Danes in the title roles of two teenagers who fall in love despite their being members of feuding families. Then Brian Dennehy, John Leguizamo, Harold Perrineau, Peter Postlethwaite, Paul Sorvino, and Diana Venora also starred in supporting roles. It is the third major film version of the play, following a 1936 film and 1968 film. Now, Romeo and Juliet, it is a 1936 American film. So the first adaptation was, if I'm not wrong, it is a 1936 American film that was adapted from the play by William Shakespeare himself, and it was directed by George Cukor from a screenplay by Talbot Jennings. And the film stars Leslie Howard as Romeo and Norma Shear as Juliet, and the supporting cast features include John Barrymore, Basil Rathbone, and Andy Devine. Now we have to know about the William Shakespeare because he has written this work. William Shakespeare, we must have known him, but now let's try to know in little detail. William Shakespeare, he was born, it was believed to be baptized on 26 April 1564 and died on 23 April 1616. He was an English playwright, poet, and actor. He is widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's greatest dramatist. And he is often called English national poet and the Bard of Avon, or simply the Bard. His extant works include collaborations consist of some 39 plays, 154 sonnets, 3 long narrative poems, and a few other verses, and some of uncertain authorship. His plays have been translated into every major living language and are performed more often than those of any other playwright in the world. And he remains arguably the most influential writer in the English language, and his works continue to be studied and reinterpreted. Okay. Now let's try to know about Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet, it is a tragedy written by William Shakespeare early in his career about two young Italian star-crossed lovers whose deaths ultimately reconciled their feuding families. It was among Shakespeare's most popular plays during his lifetime, and along with Hamlet, it is one of his most frequently performed plays. Today, the title characters are regarded as archetypal young lovers. Romeo and Juliet, it belongs to a tradition of tragic romances stretching back to antiquity. The plot is based on an Italian tale translated into verse as the tragical history of Romeo and Juliet by Arthur Brooke in 1562 and retold in prose in Palace of Pleasure by William Painter in 1567. Then William Shakespeare borrowed heavily from both, but expanded the plot by developing a number of supporting characters, particularly Mercutio. If I'm wrong, I'm very sorry. I don't know how to pronounce it, and I have not trained in pronunciation course. That's why I'm sorry. And Paris. And it is believed to have been written between 1591 and 1595, and the play was first published in quarto version in 1597. Then the text of the first quarto version was of poor quality. However, later editions corrected and the text to conform more closely with Shakespeare's original. Then if you talk about the 1968 version of the film, the plot includes one summer morning in Verona, a long-standing feud between the Montagu and the Capulet clans break out in a street brawl. The brawl is broken up by the prince, who warns both families that any future violence between them will result in harsh consequences. That night, two teenagers of the two families, Romeo and Juliet, meet at a Capulet masked ball and fall in love. Later, Romeo stumbles into the secluded garden under Juliet's bedroom balcony, and the two exchange impassioned pledges. Then they are secretly married the next day by Romeo's confessor and father figure, Friar Lawrence, and with the assistance of Juliet's nurse. That afternoon, Juliet's cousin Tybalt, he was very furious that Romeo had attended his family's ball, insulted him, and challenged him to a brawl. Romeo now regarded Tybalt as family, and he refused to fight him, which led Romeo's best friend Mercutio to fight Tybalt instead. Despite Romeo's effort to stop the fight, Tybalt, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, mortally wounded Mercutio, who cursed both the Montagu and Capulet houses before dying. Then, enraged over his friend's death, Romeo retaliated by fighting Tybalt and killing him. Romeo was subsequently punished by the prince with banishment from Verona, with that threat of death if he ever returned. Romeo then secretly spent his wedding night with Juliet, and the couple consummated their marriage before Romeo fled. On the other hand, Juliet's parents, unaware of their daughter's secret marriage, they had arranged for Juliet to marry wealthy Count Paris. Then Juliet pleaded with her parents to postpone the marriage, but they refused and threatened to disown her. Then Juliet sought out Friar Lawrence for help, hoping to escape her arranged marriage to Paris and remain faithful to Romeo. And Friar Lawrence's behest, she reconciled with her parents and agreed to their wishes. On the night before the wedding, Juliet consumed a potion prepared by Friar Lawrence intended to make her appear dead for 42 hours. Friar Lawrence planned to inform Romeo of the hoax so that Romeo can meet Juliet after her burial and escape with her when she recovered from her swoon. So he sent Friar to give Romeo a letter describing the plan. However, when Balthazar, Romeo's servant, saw Juliet being buried under the impression that she was dead. Then he went to tell Romeo and reached him before Friar John. In despair, Romeo went to Juliet's tomb and killed himself by drinking poison. Then soon afterward, Friar arrived as Juliet awakened. Then, despite his attempts to persuade her to flee from the syrup, if I'm not wrong, Juliet refused to leave Romeo, and once the friar fled, she killed herself by plunging his dagger into her abdomen. Later, the two families, having ended their feud, attended the joint funeral and are condemned by the prince. So in that way, it ends. And my pronunciation may not be up to the standard. That's why I request you to watch all the movies for your better understanding how the pronunciation were done in the movie. And you have to watch because this paper belongs to literature and cinema. That's it. Thank you so much.